Hi, Parker Elmore here from Odyssey Advisors. We are an actuarial consulting firm located in, we have a Connecticut office as well as a West Coast office. So we've been working with the town for about 6 years at this point, related to GASB 45 and other post-employment benefits.
Thank you. And I don't know if you all got, Parker had sent along a brief agenda.
Yep. If you don't have it, I have copies here if you need them. So.
We have extra copies, so I think if you want to start speaking through the agenda, and then we can ask questions as we go along.
Sure. Well, thank you again for having me out. I know this is always a hot topic, and we do a lot of these presentations around the state and around the country, so you're not unusual in that regard. Basically, I'll give you the quick overview. I think a lot of you folks have been through this in past meetings, but basically, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board issued this statement to be effective for fiscal 2008. You guys have been adopting it now for some time. Basically, the idea behind why GASB did this is that you guys, along with everybody else in the country, are using pay-as-you-go accounting for your retiree medical, dental, life insurance benefits. Not unusual. Everybody was doing it. You're not alone. But the concept is people earn those benefits throughout their working service. And so the concept is those benefits should be expensed on your books during the period in which they are earned, not the point at which they are paid. Much like you do on your pension plan, much like you do with somebody's salary. You don't, if I decided that for $10,000 of salary today and you're going to give it to me 20 years from now, you still book the $10,000 today. So that's really the concept, is to book the service to the expense. And corporate America did this pushing 25 years ago at this point, in what's called FAS 106. So that's really kind of the why, and so it was really to create a standardization. And if you think about it, if I'm a city, a town with 100 employees, let's say, and 10 retirees, and you're another town with 100 employees with 100 retirees, you would look at it and go, well, the ones with 100 retirees, they're far worse off because they're paying 10 times the benefits of the ones with 10. Well, that's just because the other people haven't gotten there yet in the other town. So it's a way to try and level out and come to a consistent way of displaying the results in costing and make comparability of financial statements across both the state as well as the United States. In terms of the benefits you guys provide, not unusual here in Massachusetts, you guys provide medical benefits. You guys charge retirees 50% for those. You guys provide dental benefits, of which you charge them 100%, pretty much like most towns. And you provide a $1,000 life insurance benefit to retirees, of which you charge them 50% for that. So again, fairly standard benefit package here in the state. I would say that compared to your peer group, your benefits, I know people always say, gee, we're giving away the store. Your benefits compared to your peer group are on the lighter side. You charge 50%, which is the most you can charge under state law. In this part of the state, I tell people I have towns like you guys charging 50%, and people go, 50%? Well, that doesn't happen. Well, not so much in this part of the state, whereas I go to Western Mass, and I talk about people charging, doing 85-15, and they can't believe anybody isn't doing 50-50. So it's where you come from and what your peers look like. So again, you guys, compared to your peers on a cost basis, are actually doing quite well. In terms of what's happened over the last couple of years, you guys had about a $29 million in change liability 2 years ago. It's up to $36 million today, in which the natural question would be, what happened? Why did we gain $6.5 million of liability? Well, is this the nature of the fact that the closer people get to retirement, the value of their benefit goes up? That's a big part of it. Your benefits actually came in really pretty much in line with expectation. There was no real surprises. But there were really two things that drove it. One is we had to go to a more conservative mortality table to reflect the fact that people are living longer. That's something the state PARE Act has been mandating on all the pension plans. We adopted the same mortality table for this. That increased your liabilities by about $2 million to reflect the fact that people will be living longer. Another thing is what's called, you might be familiar with the Affordable Care Act, aka Obamacare and everything else it wants to be called. There's something there called the excise tax, which basically means for high value insurance plans have to pay an excise tax. That costs about $660,000 to your liability. Again, many people there's a lot more because they have richer plans. Your plans aren't as rich, so you don't get hit quite as bad, but that is in there as well. Your pay-as-you-go cost to cash out the door, what you're paying on behalf of retirees. This is retirees only. It's not the actives, but it's retirees only. 2 years ago, it was about $839,000. Now you're up to about $991,000. Again, nothing unexpected. It came in pretty much about where we expected it to be, so it wasn't a surprise. But again, that's kind of what happens. Your post-65 costs, that's 86% of the total. So The thing is, if you're looking for places where you can save money in this plan, that's where you have to look. That's where 86% of the money comes from. So, if you want to save money, it's called, look at your MedX plan. Your MedX plan is fine, but if you're trying to save money, going after the HMO Blue, it doesn't really matter what you do there. There's not much, that's not much of your liability. Now, on the active side, you can save a ton of money. But as it relates to retirees only in this particular bucket, MedX and those managed Blue, that's where you have to go to find the money, because that's 86% of it. I would tell you, your guys' medical expenses have been pretty much in line with expectation over the last 2 years. If you look nationwide, medical expenses have been comparatively low compared to what we have seen in the past. The rate increases have not been significant. We've seen, a era of 3, 4, 5% increases. We're not seeing the 10, 12, 15% increases we've seen in the past. So then the question comes, why? Now, some people will tell you that we've bent the cost curve, we've solved all the problems, it's unicorns and rainbows, and life is great. And let's all hope that's the case. However, other people will tell you it's called drugs coming off of patent. It's called there's a recession and people are less likely to use care. There's a lot of reasons that it could be. So my point being is, before everybody decides, all right, we've got a new world now, healthcare costs have moderated, we can start spending money in a lot of other places, I guess I'd want to see more before we start jumping on that bandwagon. And again, it's up to you guys to decide what you want to do, but I would just tell you, I personally haven't totally bought into the excuse. And I say that because in the early 90s, we saw a very similar thing. Basically, they put in HMOs for the first time in any significant fashion. It had cost containment. We saw several years of fairly flat premiums. And then everybody complained about the cost containment mechanisms. Well, why do I have to go to a primary care physician? Why can't I just see a specialist? Why can't I do this? And Congress passed various laws saying that HMOs couldn't do those things anymore. And then we saw 12 to 15% increases again. Well, now you hear a lot of people complaining about the narrow networks in the quote-unquote exchanges. We will see what Congress does this time. Do they cave to the pressure of narrow networks and take away the cost controls? Or do they let the cost controls stay? We shall see. As far as future costs, you guys have about 250 people today taking benefits, currently getting paid out. Over the next 25 years or so, we expect that number to go to about 370 people before starting to level out. The employer share is going to go from about 991,000 to about 8.42 million over the next 40 years. Then the question is, $8 million, what? We can't afford $8 million. Well, the key element is, that's in 2053. In today's dollars, that's 1.82 million. So if you think about it in terms of how it relates to an existing budget, because the town's going to be bigger, dollars are going to be worth less, tax base is larger, grand list, et cetera. The question is, if you had to pay $1.82 million instead of 991 grand, could the town survive? So an extra 900 grand or 850 grand. If you had to pay that kind of money out in retiree benefits, could you do it? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. My point is, you have, basically 40 years to make adjustments to moderate that if you wish to. Now, the moderation could be through changes in benefits. The state talks about doing certain things in terms of changing contribution strategies and eligibility for these benefits. That proposal has been out there for about 18 months and hasn't moved terribly far. Maybe it will. We shall see. But so far, it hasn't really gone anywhere. So my point is, you can start making adjustments now to do it. Then the obvious question, I know it's a hot topic here as well as everywhere, is should we pre-fund these benefits? It's easy to say we should pre-fund. Everybody likes pre-funding, except for the part about putting up the money. Everybody loves the concept. So the question is, can we do it? Should we do it? What are the pros? What are the cons? There are a lot of different pathways to fund. There is no one-size-fits-all. There's not, you must do it this way, you must do it that way. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to get there. One of the ways we see people talk about is, let's just fund the normal cost. If we do that, we keep the liability from growing in present value terms. So, your liability today is $36 million. Over the next 40 years, it's going to get up to about, $180 million or thereabouts. But in today's dollars, it's like $49 million. So it's not, your liability is not going to grow significantly in today's dollars. But if you want to keep it in the